I'm DC Contour, and I'm here to talk about my unpopular opinions about young adult fantasy. I am the author of the Legend of the Salt of the Earth series, a young adult fantasy series. It has 3 books. This is book 2. I don't know where I put book 1, and I can't show you book... Can I show you book 3? I'll have to think about where this shows up. I'm not going to show you book 3. Just in case I'm not supposed to yet, because I can't remember when this airs in relationship. I do announce in this season what the title of book 3 is, and so I can reference it. It's called The Cleaving Earth. And I also show you the process of me creating the title, and I show you, or not the title, but the cover. And so I do show you that. But I think that's after this, so I won't show you. I have it here. You can see it's the not for resale one. So there's book 1. There you go. There's book 1, A Change of Tide, An Obscured Glass, and then book 3 is called The Cleaving Earth. Dun, dun, dun. And so I do have a little experience in the young adult fantasy portion of publishing. I have significantly more experience in the young adult fantasy portion of being a reader. This is one of my favorite genres. I still read it even though I am in no way young and barely an adult. So I wanted to talk about those, some of my top unpopular opinions. These are unpopular in the traditional marketing world. I feel like we're starting to see a rise of these in the indie publishing world, which I feel like is really good. My hope is that as that rises inside the indie publishing world, that the traditional world will take notice and make a change. We'll see. Unpopular opinion number 1, and probably the most important, is that smut does not belong in young adult books. Something we need to clarify. When we say young adult, inside the industry, so to speak, and outside the industry, there are 2 different thought processes as to what is a young adult. Outside the industry, if you're not in the publishing world, if you're not paying attention to genres and all that kind of stuff, if you're just like, oh, I pick up a book because it looks good, fair. A lot of people will be like, oh, young adult, that's like 17 to 25, right? 18 to 25. As human beings, sure, that's a young adult. When we're talking genre for books, young adult is 12 to 18. I know. 12. 1, 2. 12. And so there will be things stuck inside of young adult books like smut, right? If you don't understand what I'm saying when I say smut, I think it's funny. There's a whole group of people that get really angry when you advertise, as the author who wrote the book, using industry terms, this is a clean young adult fantasy. They'll be like, are you saying that the ones that have smut in them are dirty? Okay, number 1, the word smut literally means dirt. Like if you get into dictionary.com, crack open the dusty old dictionary, and you look up smut, it literally means dirt. So I'm not saying it. I'm saying that the other authors who advertise their books as smutty or spicy, I'm saying they're saying it's dirty, right? Don't get mad at me. These are just industry terms. So clean, you're not going to find any sex. You're not going to find any swearing. You're not going to find any smoking or drinking or... Anyway, there's a variety of things you will not find in these books. But there is still adventure, right? And there is still, actually book 2 does have a little romance. We do start stepping into some romance. Book 1 doesn't have any at all. It's kind of a setup. Not really, it just follows a natural progression of characters and what is happening in their lives. Talking at 7 o'clock in the morning, y'all. It's not there. We don't have any brains. It's fine. But I'm a big believer that smut does not belong in these books. As a 12-year-old, you should be able to pick up a young adult book and not worry about breasts being described as peaches. No, really. Tamora Pierce, why? Why? My daughter, my oldest, is 11. And I'm a psychopath about what she reads because, like, my husband will be like, oh, I'm taking her to the library. And he'll be like, hey, is this book series okay? And if I haven't read it, sometimes I'll just do a quick Google search and, like, there's a website I use. I can't remember what it's called. It's, like, called, like, Parent Certified, or I can't remember what it's called. But it talks about, like, other parents and being like, hey, this is, not appropriate for this age group, or this is appropriate for this age group. Keep in mind it has these themes in it, or these things occur, or, and it's all just different stuff that, like, it's cool. I'll have to see if I can figure out what that's called. Maybe I'll put it on the bottom of the screen if I can figure out what the website is. But I don't just let her pick up anything. Like, Meg Cabot was an author that I grew up reading. I loved her books. These books are actually loosely, not based, but inspired by her Princess Diaries series, in the sense that I loved that it was, like, so the Princess Diaries are literally a diary, right? Like, it literally is like, June, whatever, here's my journal entry, right? These books are inspired by that in the sense that, like I said, I have journal entries, right? You have handwriting for each girl, but then it's also third person narrative. So it is a little different. I kind of took the concepts from there and was like, oh, it'd be fun I've never seen a book where it has both the journal entries and third person narratives. I've read a lot of journal only style books. I read a lot of third person only style narratives, but I've never seen one with both. They're probably already out there. I'm sure I'm not doing an original thing and I just haven't been exposed to it. Maybe it's in a genre I don't read. It's like a horror show or a horror book, then that's super cool. I'm not going to pick it up. But I would never let my daughters read those. Why? Because there are some of her books. There's some books I would let them read, but I need to do a reread because I'm like, oh yeah, I really liked those books, but I read them before I had kids. So my brain was not on the lookout for things like the Tamora Pierce book, what are they called? They're all dog names. There's Terrier and Bloodhound, and it's what is it called? Anyway, I bought the book because I read them and I loved them when I was in high school or shortly after high school. I think I may have read them in college. I read the books and I loved them, but I just borrowed them from the local library. And I was like, oh, hey, I wonder if my girls would like it. Because it's basically the story of this girl who becomes like she's on the dog watch, which is why they have like the puppy and terrier and all these different things. And it's basically like this girl becomes a cop, right? It's kind of like that's the storyline. And literally in the first, like it's like, again, it's this journal entry style writing. And in the very first chapter, she's like, my peaches weren't very big. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, I know exactly what you mean. I know you're trying to be like smooth and undercover about it, but I have literally never one time, and I know the purpose is to describe the character, right? I get it. Don't come for me. But literally never once in any of my journals I've ever had have I been like, well, this is what size my boobs are today. Like, maybe once after having kids, I was like, holy cow, they're full of milk. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm probably going to get all kinds of like censored on this for saying boob on YouTube. Honestly, if YouTube censors me for being like, they should not have this in young adult books, then y'all should be paying attention to some other stuff that's happening on the internet, because what's happening out there is way worse than anything I said. But that's my point, right? Is if YouTube standards are like, oh, that's inappropriate, you shouldn't say that. Yeah, and you also shouldn't put it in a book for a 12-year-old, right? And I get it, right? There's going to be people that want to read those things, and that's fine. don't put them in young adult books. If you really want to read those things, call them a new adult. You're like, well, I want my characters to be younger. Yeah, there's a word for wanting to describe younger characters doing inappropriate things. It starts with a P and ends in an edophile. Right? Did I mention this is your unpopular opinions? They're also kind of strong opinions, so, heads up. But here's the thing. Reading should be educational, right? You should be learning, like you should be learning about something, right? Not necessarily in a preachy way, right? Like if you're reading The Lord of the Rings, he's not teaching you how to make lambas bread, but you are learning about what people can do. Should be educational and inspiring. It should be something that leaves you thinking. It should be something that gives you the opportunity to look at your own life and go, number one, would I survive in that situation, right? Like, there's a joke that goes around the internet, right, of like different fandoms being like, the Percy Jackson fandom's like, I want to go live in, I don't know what the name of their camp, Superman or whatever it's called. Like, I don't know. I've never actually read those books. And then it's like, the Chronicles of Narnia fandom, I want to go to Narnia. And then the Harry Potter fandom, I want to go to Hogwarts. And then it was like the Hunger Games fandom, and they're like, no, I'm good. I don't want to starve and then have to shoot people. I'm good. No, thank you. Right? Like, there's some books where it's like, the Hunger Games is a great example of this chance to look at things and go, oh, hey, wait a minute. Are we on a good path? Right? And I don't know that I'd call it clean. I haven't, like I said, I've read all of those books, but I haven't read them since I became a mom. And I feel like the way that I read books, knowing that my daughters are going to read them, is very different from how I read them just to consume them myself. And there's a little piece of that in me now. Every time I read any book, I'm like, And so that's also there when I write books, right? It's, my daughters are going to want to read this. My sons, maybe someday. Right now they're 7 and 5, and they just want to, play dinosaurs and try and dig up a dinosaur in the backyard. But someday, maybe they'll want to read these. My daughters already want to, and I let them. Why? Because I wrote them and I edited them with my daughters in mind of, my daughters are going to read this. I need to make sure it's something that I'm willing to let them read, right? And so I'm not saying that we never dig into heavy topics. What was one of the books? Oh, we read Number of the Stars, right? I read that one out loud to my girls. That one I don't think is technically considered young adult. I think it's actually considered a middle grade book, so it's, the age range is a little bit lower. But it deals with the Holocaust, right? Like, not the hard and frank side of the Holocaust, right? The story takes place in Denmark. But you're dealing with the beginnings of that, right? And so it's not a light topic, and there's death in it, but it is dealt with in a way that is very age appropriate. And I understand that, and this is the thing that's frustrating, right? This is the thing that's frustrating about young adult fantasy and how they've decided the genre grouping for that and the age grouping for that. Because you have 12 to 18. Well, the maturity levels between your average 12-year-old and your average 18-year-old are kind of different, right? It's a bird. It's not a kid. I just heard the maturity levels are going to be different, right? And so this is kind of, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. This is my personal opinion. I haven't heard other people say this. I'm sure there's loads of people in the million, bajillion people on the internet. I'm sure somebody out there is saying this. I kind of wish they would rewrite the young adult grouping. I think that the middle grade is like 11 to 13. I don't know who decided that was middle grade. That's your standard, is 11-ish to 13. And these are talking about readers and characters. Readers actually tend to be like 10, I think it's like 10 to 12. And then your characters are usually about 11 to 13. Because kids tend to like to read about characters that are a little bit older than them. And so I kind of wish that the middle grade was more of the like 12 to 15-ish range. I don't know. My point is there should also be a rating system, right? In the same way that we have movies that are rated G or rated PG or rated PG-13 or rated R, we should have some kind of rating system. And I kind of disagree with some of the way we do rating systems, because I've seen some PG-13 movies where I'm like, y'all literally counted exactly how many swear words are we allowed to have and exactly how much boob are we allowed to show before it's rated R, and then pulled it back just enough so it's not technically rated R, but it should have been rated R, okay? There's some movies I'm like, there's no way this movie is PG-13. It is. Shouldn't be. It should be rated R. And then there's other movies I've watched where I'm like, this is rated R. Why is this rated? Like Last Mohicans, I don't understand why that one's rated R. I mean, I do understand because it can be quite violent. I'm a big fan of James Fenimore Cooper. Anyway, ratings. There should be some kind of rating, right? Like, I would consider these books PG. I would not consider them G. You're going to want some parental guidance, right? Like, some kids are going to be a little more sensitive to some topics than other kids, right? But I would not say these are PG-13 either. I think the Harry Potter series did a really good job of this, right? Because you start off with Harry is 11 years old, and it's book 1 is very appropriate for 11-year-old to read, right? By the time we're getting into book 15, I wish. By the time we're getting into book 5, where Harry is 15, excuse me, we do have some more mature things are happening, right? There is a notice that the other sex actually exists. Like, oh, Hermione, you're a girl. Actually, that happens in book 4. But this concept of like, oh, hey, you're like a girl. And she's like, yeah, thanks. Right? There's a little bit of dating that's happening. There's a little bit of kissing that's happening. And but it's also very age appropriate, right? Like, you can talk about things that are age appropriate for people to do. This is my beef. Okay, this is my beef. This is going to be a long video, and I'm so sorry. It's essentially just me rambling about things that bug me inside the young adult fantasy or young adult world in general, not even just fantasy, just the young adult world in general. There are people, and I think this is so interesting. When I was growing up reading Harry Potter, not once did any of my friends go, why aren't there any sex scenes in this? Not one time. Not one time did me and all my friends who were reading Harry Potter ever say, hey, you know what would make this book better is if this happened, right? I mean, we did say that, but it wasn't about sex. There was not like, hey, they should put smut in these, right? It was not until I was an adult and people who were reading Harry Potter said, well, why is there no teen sex in there? There should be, because teens are doing it. Why shouldn't it be in there? And it's like, have you asked an actual teenager? Have you asked an actual teenager? There is, you know what? We're going to pause because this is that important. I'm going to go get it. So just hold for a second. That was no time at all, but it took me a second to find the part I was looking for. So there is a book called How to Write a Mystery. This is by Lee Child, and it's edited by Lee Child with Lori R. King, and has loads of other people writing stuff in it. There's tons of stuff in here. Overall, as a book, if you're looking to write mysteries, I think it's really great. I really enjoyed it. The one section that made me not happy was the young adult mystery section. Surprise. This is why. Okay. My first young YA came out in 2008, and it was considered older YA, rated on some sites as 16 plus, despite the absence of sexual content and profanity. Now, those same books are considered more middle school than young adult. YA has become increasingly mature. Are you listening? Are you listening? Okay, I want you to listen to this part. This sentence is the most important sentence. YA has become increasingly mature, in part because many YA readers are not actual teenagers. She does say, and in part to answer a question of authenticity, depicting experiences that teenagers can relate to. You want to know what book I don't ever remember anybody questioning their sexuality or needing to put sex on the page for, that is high fantasy, that no one complains about questions of sex or sexuality? The Lord of the Rings. It is an incredibly deep book about all kinds of incredibly important things that I can't articulate right now because it's 7 o'clock in the morning. But the issue is YA has become increasingly mature, in part because many YA readers are not actual teenagers. That's the part that drives me nuts. We joke, and she even says later on in, where is it? Young adult readers, she has like a little section, she has like a bunch of different sections that talks about, this is Kelly Armstrong, I have no idea who that is, but she does say the target is teenagers, but it's estimated at least half of YA readers are adults. While there is young YA aimed at middle grade and early high school readers, most major publishers are not looking for crossover appeal. The crossover they're looking for is adult, young adult. There are adults who are looking for adults who read YA are looking for a unique reading experience. She does say, what this doesn't mean, though, is that we focus on the adult audience, which is interesting because what I've actually found is exactly what she also says, which is one of the reasons that young adult has become so mature is because there's a good chunk of the readers that are adults. I know teenagers, actual living teenagers, who have said, oh, I don't read young adult because it's got so much smut in it. They've changed it so that it is for adults. They've taken what should have been a space where children, if you are sitting there telling yourself that anybody under the age of 18 is not a child, you might want to take a long, hard look in the mirror. We don't even have fully formed brains as human beings until you're like 25 if you're a girl and like 27 if you're a boy. Okay? So, my point is, why are we putting adult content into books for young adults? Just because the word adult is in there doesn't make them actual adults. And as writers, why are we fantasizing, because it's literally called fantasy, about young adults, minors, children, doing adult things? Again, there is a word for that. Starts with the P and ends in a wood chipper. Okay? You know what I'm saying, though? You know what I'm saying? Okay. So that's my really strong opinion. Slightly, very unpopular in the traditional world, less unpopular in the indie world. There are more and more authors coming out and saying, listen, as a teen, I got exposed to this and I got caught in the smut circle. I'm going to be the one to say it. Other people have also said it. I strongly agree. If you disagree, that's fine. It actually doesn't matter to me. Reading smut is the same as watching pornography. Okay? In my brain, reading smut is the same as watching pornography. I have been exposed to smut. I have read smut. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time because I was a teenager and the book was for teenagers, so I thought it was fine. Nobody told me otherwise. And eventually got to a place where I was like, oh, this is making me feel things. and I like clicked in my brain that like this is what pornography does. I'm also a very visual reader, which sounds silly when I say it out loud because it's like, well, yeah, you're visual. It's reading, it's words. But what I mean is I'm the person who, when I'm reading words, I'm watching a movie in my head. There are images from books that I have literally not touched in 15 years that I can see as crystal clear in my head as if I had watched it happen in real life. So this is one of the reasons I'm so against smut and stuff that doesn't belong in young adult books, because when your brain is that malleable, the things that you read will stick with you. There is a scene from a book, and I won't, well, maybe I should tell you which one, that way you can avoid it. It's a Meg Cabot book, which is one of the reasons I stopped. This book got me to stop reading Meg Cabot. The only books I have of hers are the Mediator series, and I haven't read the newest one. I bought it, but I haven't actually read it yet. I'm a little worried that one, because all the other ones came out earlier in her career, and they're all relatively like safe. They do deal with some things about like teen drinking and stuff, but none of it's glorified, and it's all I feel like pretty tastefully done. I'd have to reread, like I said, it's been a while, but there was a book, it was like, I think it's called like All American Princess or something like that. It's not part of the Princess series, it's a different book. But essentially, there's a scene where the girl in the book, who I would like to remind you is 16 years old, is trying to see if she can enjoy herself in the bathtub. And I was like, what? Why? Why is this necessary in this book? My children will never read that book. And I will tell my girls, like, hey, if you find this book, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to read that book. And we have these conversations, okay? We have these conversations, like my girls love the Harry Potter books. They've only watched the first 2 movies. Why? Because the third movie, I'm like, girls, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. It's PG-13. Neither one of you are 13. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be that parent that you have to be at least 13 to watch this movie. And it's also going to be judged based on your personal maturity levels, right? And I've told them, I'm like, well, it's scary because of this, this, and this. We've read the book, right? Our imaginations are pretty dang good at scaring us, but there is something to be said for also seeing like an actual image, right? But like I said, my brain is really good at turning words into pictures, and so I don't necessarily even need to see the movie. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm so about it. Anyway, now that you've watched my 40-minute rant about how smut doesn't belong in young adult books, I actually don't know that I have other unpopular opinions. I do think we should have some kind of rating system. I do think the age range for a young adult is kind of wild, in that like 12 to 18 is such a change in maturity level that technically somebody could write a book that would be appropriate for an 18-year-old to read, that would be inappropriate for a 12-year-old to read, but they're called the same thing, so no one has any way of knowing. I think that's up to us writers to differentiate and maybe create like subgenres of like young third book would technically be considered new adult because it takes place in college, except for new adult is also synonymous with smut, so I refuse to advertise it as new adult. Even though it takes place in college, all of the stuff happening in it is still very young adult rated. If I was to rewrite the series again, I think I actually would start them a little bit younger. But also, I kind of like the way it is, so I'm leaving it alone. So that's that. You're welcome for whatever that ramble was. Thanks for tuning in.